Discover the power of small habits, how tiny changes can lead to major life improvements. Welcome. In this introduction, we will be exploring the role that habits play in our lives and how making small, incremental changes can lead to significant improvements. Whether you are looking to improve your health, expand your knowledge, or pursue a new hobby, habits can be a powerful tool to help you achieve your goals. Many of us have aspirations and desires for positive change in our lives, but actually making these changes and sticking to them can be challenging. We might intend to eat healthier, but find ourselves reaching for unhealthy snacks. We might promise ourselves that we will read more books, but instead find ourselves lost in endless hours of TV or social media. This is where habits come in. By focusing on forming small, consistent habits, we can gradually and steadily make progress towards our goals without the need for major overhauls or drastic changes. In this series of snapshots, we will be delving into the key ideas from James Clear's best-selling book Atomic Habits. Together, we will discover how to effectively build and maintain habits that can lead to the positive changes we desire in our lives. So, let's get started. Snapshot 1. Even small habits can have a significant impact on your life. It's easy to overlook the importance of tiny changes in our behavior, but over time, these changes can lead to significant results. To illustrate this point, let's imagine a plane taking off from Los Angeles and heading to New York City. The pilot enters all the necessary information into the computer and the plane takes off on its intended course. However, imagine that shortly after takeoff, the pilot accidentally adjusts the flight path by just 3.5 degrees. This small deviation may not seem like much, and no one on board, not the pilot, not the passengers, would likely notice the change. But over the course of the journey across the United States, the impact of this tiny adjustment would be significant. At the end of the trip, the passengers and pilot would find themselves landing in Washington, D.C., not New York City. So, why am I telling you this? Because, just like the confused pilot, we often don't notice small changes in our lives. These changes may have a negligible impact in the moment, but when repeated consistently over time, they can lead to major results. For example, if you are out of shape and go for a 30-minute jog, you might not notice any immediate changes in your fitness level. But if you continue to go for a jog every day, you will eventually become leaner and fitter. On the other hand, if you eat a family-sized meal every day, you may not gain weight overnight, but after a year, you will likely have gained a significant amount of weight. It's important to remember that your current results may not always reflect your overall trajectory. If you are working towards a goal and feel discouraged by a lack of progress, try to focus on the actions you are taking rather than the immediate results. You may not see the impact of your efforts right away, but if you keep going and maintain the right habits, you will eventually see positive changes. In the next snapshot, we will delve into the topic of habits and how they can be developed to help you achieve your goals. By learning how to form consistent, small habits, you can put yourself on the right path towards a better life. Snapshot 2. Habits are learned behaviors that we repeat subconsciously. Habits are automatic behaviors that we have learned through repetition. For example, when you walk into a dark room, you don't have to think about what to do next, you instinctively reach for the light switch. This action has become a habit, something that you have repeated so many times that it now happens automatically. Habits like this play a major role in our lives, from brushing our teeth to driving our car. They are powerful because they are automatic and require little thought or effort. But how are habits formed? In the 19th century, a psychologist named Edward Thorndike conducted an experiment to answer this question. He placed cats inside a black box and timed how long it took them to escape. Initially, the cats behaved as expected, frantically searching for a way out. Eventually, they would find a lever that, when pressed, would open the door and allow them to escape. Thorndike then placed the cats that had successfully escaped back in the box and repeated the experiment. What he found was that after being placed in the box a few times, the cats learned the trick and were able to escape much more quickly. In other words, the process of escaping the box had become a habit for the cats. Thorndike's experiment showed that behaviors that have satisfying consequences, such as gaining freedom, tend to be repeated until they become automatic. We have learned a lot more about habits since Thorndike's experiment, and we now know that habits are made up of 4 distinct elements. The first element is the cue, or trigger, that prompts the behavior. In the case of the light switch, walking into a dark room serves as the cue. Next comes the craving, or desire, for a change in state, in this case from darkness to light. Then comes the response, or action, of flipping the light switch. Finally, there is the reward, which in this case is the feeling of mild relief and comfort that comes from being able to see your surroundings. Every habit follows this same process. For example, if you drink coffee every morning, waking up serves as the cue, triggering a craving to feel alert. Your response is to get out of bed and make coffee, and the reward is feeling wide awake and ready to start the day. Now that you understand how habits work, let's look at how you can develop good habits that can improve your life. Snapshot 3: Creating new habits requires clear cues and a well-defined plan of action. We have learned about the basic structure of habits and how they are formed. To review, habits are made up of 4 elements: a cue, or trigger that prompts the behavior, a craving, or desire to achieve something, a response, or the action of the habit itself, and a reward, or the positive feeling that comes from completing the habit. Now that we understand how habits work, we can use this knowledge to our advantage and create good habits that stick. One way to do this is by making the cues for our desired habit impossible to miss. For example, if we want to practice the guitar more, we can leave the instrument in the middle of the living room where it will be highly visible. This will make it easier for us to turn our desire to practice into a habit. In addition to making cues more visible, we can use implementation intentions to help us develop new habits. Implementation intentions are clear plans of action that specify when and where we will carry out the habit we want to develop. Rather than telling ourselves that we will practice guitar sometime this week, we can specify a specific time and place, such as on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. When the alarm goes off, the first thing I'll do is pick up my guitar and practice for 1 hour. But altering our environment can also help us build better habits. Dr. Ann Thorndike, a doctor based in Boston, wanted to help her patients improve their diets and snacking habits. However, she knew that making a conscious decision to eat healthier can be difficult and requires a lot of willpower and discipline. Therefore, she and her colleagues designed an experiment in which they rearranged the hospital cafeteria. They replaced the soda in the refrigerators near the cash registers with bottled water and placed baskets of bottled water around the cafeteria. When they observed the results over a 3-month period, they found that soda sales decreased by 11% and water sales increased by over 25%. By providing more cues for people to choose water, Dr. Thorndike and her team were able to help people make healthier choices without relying on willpower and discipline. It is important to remember that building new habits requires a combination of clear cues and a well-defined plan of action. By making cues highly visible and using implementation intentions to specify when and where we will carry out our desired habits, we can increase the chances of success and make positive changes in our lives. Snapshot 4: Humans are motivated by the prospect of reward, so making habits desirable will help you maintain them. We are halfway through our snapshots of atomic habits. If you're enjoying this content, please take a moment to like and subscribe to see more content like this. In 1954, neuroscientists James Olds and Peter Milner conducted an experiment to examine the connection between desire and the neurotransmitter dopamine. They used electrodes to block the release of dopamine in some rats, and the results were alarming. Without dopamine, the rats lost their desire to engage in basic behaviors such as eating, drinking, and reproducing. They eventually died of thirst. This experiment shows that dopamine is a crucial motivator, as it is released when we engage in behaviors that are beneficial for our survival and leads to feelings of pleasure, which motivate us to repeat these actions. We have learned that the anticipation of a pleasurable activity can release dopamine in the brain's reward system, just as actually engaging in the activity does. This insight can be utilized when building new habits by making the habit something to look forward to. One way to do this is through the concept of temptation bundling, where an important but unenjoyable behavior is linked to a desirable behavior. For example, if you want to exercise more but find it unappealing, you could link it to something you enjoy, such as watching Netflix. This is what Ronan Byrne, an engineering student from Ireland, did when he hacked an exercise bike to only allow Netflix to play if he was cycling at a certain speed. By pairing exercise with something he enjoyed, he made the habit more appealing and was more likely to follow through. You don't have to go to great lengths to incorporate temptation bundling into your own life. There are simple ways to make important but unappealing tasks more enjoyable. For example, if you need to work out but want to catch up on celebrity news, you could only allow yourself to read magazines while at the gym. Or if you want to watch sports but need to make sales calls, you could reward yourself with a half hour of ESPN after completing your 10th call. By finding a way to make the tasks you need to do more attractive, you can harness the power of dopamine to create positive habits at the same time. Snapshot 5 to build a new habit, make it easy to adopt. The more enjoyable or easy a habit is, the more likely it is to stick. Many of the behaviors we engage in on a daily basis, such as scrolling through social media or snacking on junk food, are easy to do and require little effort. On the other hand, habits that require more effort and discipline, such as exercising regularly or learning a new language, can be more difficult to adopt and maintain. To increase the chances of making a desired habit a permanent part of your routine, it is important to find ways to make it as easy and enjoyable as possible. This could involve simplifying the process, finding ways to make it more enjoyable, or both. For example, if you want to start exercising more but find it difficult to motivate yourself, you might try joining a gym that is conveniently located on your way home from work. This way, you can easily incorporate exercise into your daily routine without having to go out of your way or put in a lot of effort. Alternatively, you might try finding ways to make exercise more enjoyable, such as exercising with friends or listening to music while working out. By making exercise more appealing, you will be more likely to stick with it and make it a habit. In summary, to make a habit stick, focus on making it easy and enjoyable. By doing so, you will increase your chances of successfully adopting a new behavior and turning it into a permanent part of your routine. One final way to make a habit easier to adopt is by using motivation triggers. Motivation triggers are cues that can remind you to do something. They can be simple things like a sticky note on your fridge reminding you to take your vitamins, or they can be more complex, like setting a reminder on your phone to do your daily meditation. Motivation triggers are especially useful when you're trying to build a habit that you don't particularly enjoy. If you're not a fan of exercise, for example, you can use motivation triggers to remind you to go for a run or hit the gym. These cues can be as simple as setting an alarm on your phone, or they can be more creative, like writing a note to yourself that says you're stronger than you think and sticking it on your bathroom mirror. By using motivation triggers to remind you to do something, you're less likely to forget or procrastinate. And the more you do the habit, the easier it will become. As James Clear says, the more we repeat a behavior, the more automatic it becomes. So use motivation triggers to help you get started, and eventually, the habit will become a part of your daily routine. Snapshot 6 inches. In order to effectively change your behavior, it is important to make your habits immediately satisfying. The tale of Stephen Luby, a successful public health researcher, highlights the final rule in using habits to improve your life. In the 1990s, Luby was working in Karachi, Pakistan, and was able to significantly reduce rates of diarrhea, pneumonia, and skin infections among the local children through his research. How did he do it? Luby's secret was simple: he made health habits immediately satisfying. He knew that if he could get people to adopt beneficial habits, he could change their lives for the better. But he also knew that making people wait for the benefits of a healthy habit wasn't going to work. People need immediate satisfaction, a reason to do things now, not later. So, in the case of the diarrhea reducing campaign, Luby and his team went door to door and gave out a small amount of cash to mothers who agreed to wash their hands with soap after using the toilet. They also gave out free bars of soap. By making the habit immediately rewarding, Luby was able to change behavior. This is an important point when it comes to adopting habits. If you can make your habit immediately satisfying, you'll be much more likely to follow through. Making good behaviors satisfying can be difficult because humans have evolved to live in a delayed return environment, where the rewards for our actions come at a later time. This can be challenging because our brains are programmed to prioritize immediate returns, such as finding food or shelter, rather than long-term goals like saving for retirement or maintaining a healthy lifestyle. This focus on immediate gratification can make it difficult to stick to good habits, as the immediate benefits of bad habits, like smoking or overeating, may outweigh the potential long-term consequences. To help overcome this challenge and make good habits more satisfying, it can be helpful to attach some immediate gratification to them. For example, a couple the author knows wanted to eat out less, cook more, get healthier, and save money. These are all goals with delayed returns, so to add some immediate gratification, they opened a savings account called Trip to Europe and transferred $50 to it every time they avoided eating out. This short-term satisfaction of seeing the money in their account helped to keep them motivated and on track for their longer-term goals. Snapshot 7. Use trackers and contracts to keep your habits on track. Habit tracking involves regularly recording and monitoring your progress in order to hold yourself accountable and stay on track. This can be as simple as making a tick mark on a calendar each day that you complete the desired behavior, or using a habit tracking app to keep track of your progress. Habit tracking helps to build awareness and motivation, as it allows you to see the progress you're making and helps you to identify any challenges or roadblocks that may be hindering your progress. Another helpful tool for maintaining habits is a habit contract. A habit contract is a formal agreement that you make with yourself, in which you commit to performing a specific behavior on a regular basis. The contract can be as simple as a written promise to yourself, or it can involve enlisting the help of a friend or accountability partner to provide support and encouragement. Habit contracts can be a powerful tool for staying on track, as they provide a clear, written commitment that can help to increase motivation and keep you accountable. Benjamin Franklin, from the age of 20, kept a comprehensive notebook tracking his habits. His habit tracking method was a simple but effective way for him to track his progress in achieving his personal goals. By recording his progress each day and reflecting on his adherence to his chosen virtues, Franklin was able to hold himself accountable and stay motivated to maintain these habits. This practice not only helped him to make positive changes in his own life, but it also had a lasting impact on his legacy as a successful and influential figure. Franklin's habit tracking method can serve as an inspiration for others who want to make positive changes in their own lives and achieve their goals through the power of consistent, intentional habits. An entrepreneur from Nashville, Brian Harris, took his habit contract to another level. Brian Harris was determined to stick to his habit contract and make his desired behavior changes. He knew that it would be a challenge, but he was willing to put in the work and make the necessary sacrifices to reach his goal of getting his weight down to 200 pounds. He worked closely with his personal trainer and his wife, both of whom played important roles in helping him stay on track. Every day, he carefully tracked his food intake, logging everything he ate and drank in a journal. And every week, he weighed himself to see how he was progressing. If he failed to do either of these things, he knew that there would be consequences. He had agreed to pay his trainer $100 every time he didn't track his food intake, and he would owe his wife $500 if he didn't weigh himself. This sense of accountability helped him stay focused and motivated, and eventually he was able to achieve his goal. One way to set up a habit contract is to first identify the specific habits you want to form or maintain. Make sure they are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, SMART. Then, consider the consequences for not following through on these habits. These could be financial penalties, social accountability, or something else that holds personal value to you. Once you have your habit goals and consequences in place, enlist the help of a trusted friend, family member, or colleague to hold you accountable. Having someone else involved can increase your accountability and motivation to stick to your habits. It's important to remember that a habit contract is a tool to help you achieve your goals, not a punishment for not meeting them. Don't be too hard on yourself if you slip up. The point is to improve and make progress over time. Here's a quick summary of what we've learned about habits. Habits are powerful and can have a big impact on our lives. Habits are formed through repetition and can be triggered by cues in our environment. To build a new habit, it's important to make it pleasurable, easy to adopt, and immediately satisfying. Habit tracking and contracts can help us stick to our good intentions and follow through with our habits. By applying these principles, we can use habits to improve our lives and achieve our goals. Thank you for watching.